Moranz Entertainment is bringing back some of the biggest hits from the 60s, 70s, and 80s to the Charleston Music Hall this weekend. I talk one-on-one with Brad Moranz of Moranz Entertainment about the American Jukebox for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups live from Nashville. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook.
Brad Moranz, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups, this time live from Nashville.
Nope. No, you're in Nashville. I'm still in Charleston.
You're in Charleston. I'm in Nashville, man. It's amazing.
Cool.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Obviously, you're with with Moranz Entertainment, which you and your wife produce a lot of variety shows here in Charleston. And in fact, coming up, you're going to be producing a live show called the American Jukebox. And I know that you're bringing the biggest hits of the 60s, 70s, and 80s to the Charleston Music Hall right there on John Street in Charleston for two shows only on July 9th. Let me ask you this, Brad. Why those particular hits? Why now?
Well, in my mind, and not just because I'm old, but I actually do think the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s is some of the best music ever written. And really, time has proven that because even young people know all this music. I mean, it's so incredibly familiar. So there are songs that are so good, they've literally stood the test of time. And so that's what we wanted to just focus on those things. And I still love shows that when I go to, I can sing every song. I love that. Whether I sing along or not. Actually, I try not to sing along. I don't want to drive anybody crazy. But I do love that kind of stuff. So that's what we were trying to do.
Oh, that's amazing. And what actual hits from the 60s, 70s, and 80s are really popular with the young crowds today?
Things like "Ain't No Mountain High Enough."
Yes.
You know, that's kind of forever. Or Michael Jackson's "I Want You Back." We're doing a song that Bob Dylan wrote that Adele covered called "Make You Feel My Love," which is a gorgeous song. What else? A lot of Billy Joel stuff, you know, if you like Billy Joel. And there are other things that are really cool about the show. I mean, just besides the music. The one thing that we always try to do in all of our shows is find the most talented people we can get our hands on and then just put them up in front of people. Because if you've got really talented people, it's an amazing thing. And if you have a whole show full of them, I mean everybody, then a show can be amazing. It's not one person dragging everybody else along. It's every time somebody walks out on stage, they do something crazy, just crazy. And we got a lot of those. Everybody, whether it's the singers, the dancers are amazing. And of course, the musicians. Charleston has the best musicians in the world, right here.
Right here. And
I know you're in Nashville. People would argue that.
Yes, because a couple of blocks away, you can just walk up to the Broadway and just see people playing music all the time there. It's just amazing.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love the city already. And obviously, you want people to join you for the American Jukebox and be prepared, as you mentioned earlier, to sing along to your favorite tunes. What musically is inside America's Jukebox today that is similar to the music in the 60s, 70s, and 80s? I know you mentioned it earlier.
Well, wait a minute. What's in our show? Or
inside America's Jukebox, and musically speaking, what's inside America's Jukebox today?
Today? As in today's music?
Yes, sir.
I don't have a clue.
Oh.
I really don't have a clue. The music that I listen to probably more now, truth is I listen to more classical music now, or I listen to country.
Yes.
I love country music, you know. As a matter of fact, my wife keeps saying, we need to do a country show. And I'm going, that's something we've never done before. We've done all sorts of tribute shows, you know, whether they're themed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the British invasion. And we've done the Great American Songbook, so we've done the music of the 40s. We've done 50 shows, but we've never done a country show. So if anybody thinks we should do that, tell them to let me know.
I definitely will. And musically speaking, Brad, I know that you like classical music and some country music, but what will the American Jukebox be in the next 10 to 20 years?
Oh, now this is opinion.
Yes, sir.
Total speculation.
Sure.
To me, the real question is, what songs have broad enough appeal and that are written well enough to be able to stand that test of time? I would think, frankly, I think the music of I would say all the way from the 40s up through the 80s, those things are still, they're going to last, I think. And I think a handful of songs from today will do it too, because there are incredible writers out there still writing things that are fabulous, and that could very well do that. It's an interesting thing, though, to try to determine why a song lasts. In order for a song to last, it has to be presented through enough mediums, whether that's use in film, airing on the radio, available in a Broadway show. If it can somehow find its way through multiple mediums and reach a wide audience, not just teenagers, or not just older people, but it's got to reach a lot of people. If it touches a lot of people, that's the kind of song that can last. So I guess, you're making me think about this right now, because I never really have. But if you look at what even filmmakers choose to put in their films, whether it's some of the animated films, Sing 1, Sing 2, some of the stuff that Lin-Manuel is writing, who wrote Hamilton, his animated films. If somebody puts it into film, it's got a much better chance, in my opinion, of reaching a wide audience and lasting. That'd be my guess. But that's just a guess. I'm no authority.
Right. Oh, absolutely. No worries. And let me ask you the obvious. Who is your audience for this American Jukebox?
Well, one could say, well, it's got to be older folks, because let's face it, this is old music. But my point is, really, it's not. Right. This music is, I'm looking at the lineup of the songs right now. Knock on Wood, Son of a Preacher Man, Hip to Be Square, That'll Be the Day, I Want You Back, Mrs. Robinson, if you remember Simon and Garfunkel, Proud Mary, I Feel the Earth Move, Carole King, Sweet Caroline, Whole Lot of Shakin', Little Richard, and like I said, Ain't No Mountain. There are just so many songs. I think because these songs have lasted, it's pretty much for anybody. And it's also great for kids. Yes. Jenny and I love having kids in the audience. We love kids, period. Yeah, so, and we, again, we've talked about this, you and I, Quintin, before. Jenny and I come from the era of musical variety shows that were meant for the whole family.
That's right.
That's all we do. So that's what this is meant for. Yeah.
Wow. And Brad, let me ask you, how have these amazing songs from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s really lasted this long?
Oh, well, the familiarity. The more you simply hear something, to be honest, you can hear a bad song on the radio, but if you hear it enough, all of a sudden you're going to be thinking, well, this song's kind of catchy. Right. So music is a weird thing. Yeah. But the funny thing about if you hear a song like that is you may suddenly decide, maybe it's not so bad. But in time, you'll go, oh, no, that was just as bad as I thought it was. I just got used to it. But really good songs, you never get tired of them. Literally never get tired of hearing them. Jenny and I are in rehearsal, every day. Every day I sit, and we're working with a band and with the singers and the dancers, and I'm listening to all this music, and we're trying to, fine tune everything to make sure that we're presenting it as best we can. But of course, in the doing of that, it's a whole lot of repetition. Without exception, every one of the songs that I listen to, I go, gosh, that's a good song. Or, gosh, that person is doing that well, Billy Joel plays a song in his concerts called Angry Young Man, Prelude, Angry Young Man. And it's just virtuosic on the piano. It doesn't have words to it. It's just a piano piece. And our musical director, Demetrius Doctor, plays that in the show. I just, literally the very first time I laid the music in front of the whole band and in front of Demetrius, I said, okay, let's see what this sounds like. It was incredible. From the very first time, I went, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anyway, a whole show full of stuff like that. That's all I got to say.
What type of music are you laying in front of your band members and the singers now that they're really taking a hold of?
Well, that's one of them. Actually, that's funny. We were in rehearsal last night, and we went through that song at the beginning of rehearsal, and then then we start running the show, and we get to that song in the running of the show, and I say, "Do you guys want to do this again? I mean, I know we just ran it, before we started," and they all went, "Oh, let's do it again. That was just so much fun."
Yeah.
So yeah, there are songs like that. There's another one again. It's instrumental. We took a boogie woogie, just a flat out boogie woogie. And we have 3 piano players in our show. Just happens to. I mean, we have our musical director who plays piano. We have a synthesizer player who's obviously a keyboard player. And then one of our singers, Manny Houston, is a piano player. So we decided, wouldn't it be cool if they played a boogie woogie all together at the same time on one piano? Well, I went crazy. I was just nuts hearing them the very first time. Again, the first time they played. Okay. And I wish you could see this music. The music is a skeleton of a chart. It has, from a musical standpoint, it has no information on it. None. I mean, well, it does. It tells you what form it is. Here, play this chord now, and here's the beginning and here's the end. That's pretty much it. These guys sat down and practically improvised the entire thing the very first time, and it was insane.
Wow!
That was worth the ticket. That one thing. Yeah. So.
Wow! Now, I mean, it sounds so good to me. I want to come. So, how can we get tickets for this particular show?
Well, it's at the Charleston Music Hall. And the performances are at 3:00 and 8:00. You can certainly just go to the door. There's plenty of tickets, so you can do that. They're available on Ticketmaster. You just go to Ticketmaster.com. You can also get them at CharlestonMusicHall.com. The one thing I got to tell you, Quintin, to make sure that we tell folks is be careful. If you try to buy a ticket online, there's a lot of scalping companies out there. They create websites that get you to buy a ticket, and they convince you that it's almost sold out and the ticket's $200, and it's crazy. So unless it says charlestonmusichall.com or ticketmaster.com, you're on the wrong website, period. So,
and I know that during that show, you'll be featuring some of the country's most talented singers, dancers, and musicians. No musical genre is off limits in this high energy show. But let me ask you, genre has been off limit to those singers, dancers, and musicians in the past.
Oh, does that statement imply that something's been off limits? No, there's nothing we haven't attempted, unless the song is in bad taste, because everything you do is a reflection of your own sense of what is appropriate. But no, there's been no genre that we haven't touched. And if we're doing a variety show, the idea is try to have as much variety in it as possible. So we will have in this pop, folk, rock, country, even swing, Broadway. It has everything that existed in those 3 decades. And because music, I don't care when you're talking about music, at any given time, the variety of music that exists is huge, right? Even now, there's all sorts of different sounds out there. So that was certainly the truth in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It just wasn't like a lot of people will say, well, 70s, oh, that's disco. Well, that's true.
Right.
That was. Or you might say the 60s, oh, that was, well, you have 2 camps there. 60s, that's Motown. Or somebody else would say, well, that's the British invasion. That was the 60s. Right. So that was also the tail end of folk music. Yeah. It was also Elvis, later Elvis. So every decade has a wide variety of music, and if we choose a decade or several decades, we try to cover as much of that as possible. Wow. And there are, 40 songs in the show, so you're going to hear at least a few of your favorites in this. Promise you that.
Wow, that is really amazing. Well, when people do leave that particular music hall, what do you want them to say about the American Jukebox?
You know, Jenny and I have one goal always. Well, I don't care what show we're doing, whether it's a variety show in the summer or whether it's our Christmas show. We want people to forget about their troubles for a while, to be uplifted, to be inspired, and to leave full of joy. Now, that's all the feeling that we want them to have. We want them to feel that. And the show itself, well, it's not unlike an inspirational sermon or anything else that's designed to make you realize that life can be good, you know? And that's pretty much it. So how do I want them to feel? I want them to feel happy. That's it. And feel good.
Feel good. Oh, man. Yeah. And good luck to you all this weekend, and I hope to get you back in the fold to talk about the Christmas special as well.
Sounds good, Quintin. You be safe out there in Nashville, and see you when you get back.
I'll be back in Charleston soon. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.